How much of your life have you wasted trying to win an argument with someone who wasn't even listening? Think about it. We live in a world that's constantly screaming. We're told that if we don't shout, we aren't heard. If we don't defend every slight, we're weak. If we don't broadcast our successes, they didn't happen. But what if the most powerful thing you could ever do, the one thing that would make you untouchable in the face of chaos, was to simply say nothing at all? 5 years ago, I lost my father. He never studied the Stoic masters, nor did he even finish high school. But this man, with his calloused hands, lived a life of Stoic virtue that no book could ever teach. He didn't teach me through lectures, he taught me with his silence. And today, I'm going to show you why silence isn't a lack of power, it is the ultimate expression of it. My father was a jack of all trades out of necessity. Construction, mechanic work, electrical, delivery driving, whatever put food on the table and kept the lights on, he did it. He'd come home after 12-hour shifts, dirt etched into the creases of his face, his body screaming for rest. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from blue-collar work. It's a bone-deep ache that makes most men irritable, short-tempered, and loud about their suffering. But not him. He had this phrase he'd say whenever something broke or a plan fell apart: "What breaks still fits." I didn't understand it then. I do now. It was his way of saying that life is messy and circumstances are rarely perfect, but you can still find a way to be a man of character within the wreckage. He didn't need to explain his resilience. He just embodied it. He viewed a broken engine or a failed blueprint not as a catastrophe, but a puzzle. This channel, Blue Collar Stoic, exists to honor that memory. I want to take the lessons he showed me, not just the ones he told me, and share them with you. Because you don't need a degree to have dignity. You don't need status to have self-respect. You don't need a microphone to have power. You just need the right kind of silence. Let me tell you about a moment that is burned into my mind. I must have been 13. We were at the grocery store. As we finished loading bags into the truck, a man across the lot started shouting. He was screaming that my father had stolen his parking spot. This guy's face was beet red. He was pointing, swearing, calling my father every name in the book. My chest tightened. My heart was racing. I was ready to shout back, ready to defend my dad. But my father? He didn't even flinch. He didn't turn around. He didn't argue. He didn't even acknowledge the man's existence. He just placed the last bag in the truck, closed the tailgate, slow, deliberate, and said to me, quiet as a prayer, "Come on, son, let's go." The whole ride home, I was seething. I finally asked him, "Dad, why didn't you say anything? That guy was wrong. Why didn't you defend yourself?" He looked at me with those eyes that had seen more real hardship than I could imagine, and said, "If someone wants a fight, don't give them a partner. Peace is something you protect, not something you explain." See, what my father understood is that silence isn't weakness. Silence is refusal. It is the refusal to waste your life force on people who are beneath your peace. Epictetus, the former slave turned Stoic teacher, used to say, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." My father didn't know the quote, but he knew the truth. By giving that man nothing, my father kept everything: his dignity, his focus, and his self-respect. He understood that your energy is your currency. Why spend it on a stranger who doesn't matter? How many times have you let someone pull you into their chaos? How many arguments have you had that weren't even worth the breath? My father taught me a hard truth. The people who deserve your words will never make you beg to be heard. Real character doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't post about its good deeds for validation. In this performative world where everyone is broadcasting their every move, there is massive, untapped power in doing the right thing when nobody is watching. Before we get to the next lesson, which is the most important one regarding your reputation, I want to ask you for a favor. If this message is hitting home, hit that like button right now. It helps this message find the men who need to hear it. And do me a solid, drop a comment with the phrase, "What breaks still fits." That was my father's code, and I want to see it flood the section.
Subscribe to Blue Collar Stoic because we're building a community of men who value action over talk. My father made a mistake on a job once. He was wiring a basement and nicked a wire that would eventually cause a short, though not for several months. There were no witnesses. The walls were about to be closed up with drywall. The client would never have known it was him. He could have finished the job, collected the check, and disappeared. Instead, he reported the mistake to the client himself. Then he stayed late on his own time with no extra pay and fixed it. He didn't ask for a pat on the back. He didn't explain his high ethics. He just did it. The Stoics called this virtue for its own sake. My father called it being a man of your word. Your character isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the silence. It's those small choices where only you know what you did. Who are you when you could cut a corner and get away with it? Who are you when you could blame someone else to save face? Another thing he used to say was, trust the timing. When work was slow and the bills were stacked high, trust the timing. When a job fell through, trust the timing. This wasn't just blind optimism. It was the silence of patience. It was the refusal to panic. In a trade, you learn that you can't rush the concrete setting or the paint drying. You have to wait. Every night, no matter how exhausted he was, my father had a ritual of transformation. Before he'd even eat, he'd wash the day off. He'd scrub the grease from those rough hands that had lost parts of fingers to the world's machinery, and he'd put on a fresh shirt. He showed up for us clean, present, and dignified. He never used his exhaustion as a weapon. He never made us feel the weight of his sacrifices. He was a provider, so he provided, quietly, consistently. I realized something after he passed. I never heard him ask to be appreciated, not once. And yet, 5 years later, I appreciate him more than I ever did when he was alive, because now I see the weight of what he carried in that silence. The people who demand to be appreciated rarely are, but the ones who quietly show up day after day, year after year, they are the ones we remember. They are the ones whose absence leaves a hole in the world. Silence isn't absence, it's space. My father's silence gave me the space to grow, to watch, and to learn. He taught me that a life well lived doesn't need to be explained. His quiet generosity, his integrity when no one was watching, his refusal to be baited into a fight, these were the real lessons. The Stoics believed in memento mori, remember that you will die. My father lived that way. He was building a legacy, not with words, but with shifts worked, mistakes fixed, and meals shared. There's a famous quote attributed to Seneca: "Philosophy calls for simple living, not for penance." My father's life was that simple, powerful philosophy in action. Your silence today is building your legacy tomorrow. The fights you walk away from develop your character. The good you do in secret builds your respect. The moments you stay when it's hard develop your power. To the young men watching this, you don't need a platform to have an impact. You just need to show up. Do the work. Do it right. Do it quietly. Let your life be your statement. Let your silence be your strength. Because what breaks still fits. And if you trust the timing, you will build something that lasts forever. If this story moved you, if you knew a man like my father, hit that like button. It's a small gesture, but it means a lot. Comment below, trust the timing. Let's fill this space with the wisdom of the men who built this world in silence. Share this with one person, maybe a friend who's chasing validation, or a brother who's struggling to find his peace. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Blue Collar Stoic. We're here every week, bringing you real wisdom for the real world. No fluff, no BS, just the lessons that matter. Go out there today. Carry your silence like armor. Keep your strength in your actions and stay grounded in the moment. Go build a legacy that speaks for itself. I'll see you in the next one.